Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Air Hack 2 from ODI Leeds. We're working with our partners, Bradford City Council and the University of Bradford, and they're working on the SCORE project on the Inter-Open. Is it Interreg, or what's the project again, guys? Did I get that right?
So, Paul, it's SCORE project. It's a European-funded project for the North Sea region, and it's all about smart cities and open data reuse.
Fantastic. So today is, if you're joining us today, we're talking about the data. So if you've ever been to a hackathon at ODI Leeds or a hackathon somewhere else, the first session is always to have some coffee, talk to some people, and then understand the data that we've got. So today we've got a 20 to 30 minute session where the team that have put the data together and the ODI Leeds team are going to explain the data that's available, show you where it is, and also maybe share some of the challenges or questions that we're hoping to start to work on. We're also going to show you how you can ask a question, how you can suggest some improvements to the data, and also how do you get involved over the next 3 or 4 weeks before the 1st of October, when we have Air Hack 2 in the afternoon. So what I'd like to do now is pass over to the Bradford City Council team. So that's Adrian and Sid from the Bradford City Council team, and I think there's Joe here, and Sally is with us as well. So I'm going to pass over to them, and they're going to explain and maybe do a screen share of where the data is and what data we've got, and also some of their questions that they have suggested that people might want to work on. So over to you, Adrian. You can start.
I think actually I'll just pass back to Sid, because I think Sid just needs to do a little bit of background first, and then I'll actually go through the data sets. And Paul, just to clarify, I think actually I'll be reading about what the data sets are, but ultimately we'll be putting a document up somewhere, I believe, on the ODI website.
It's already there. So if we can,
are the links actually on there to the data and everything, Paul? Because we've been working on a Google Docs document. So
yeah, we can do that. OJ, yeah. If you, OJ or Amy that are online, if we can share that document now, if we share a screen, that's all available.
Yeah, sorry, Paul. I thought that was going to be done after. So
no, it's all. That's the reason for today's meeting, is to have that data available.
Yeah. So Sid, I don't know if you want to do a quick bit of background, and then I'm happy to pick up the data sets and go through them.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'll say a little bit more about SCORE. It won't be long. It's got 9 cities involved and 3 universities. In the UK, it's Bradford Council, Bradford University, and City of Aberdeen. It's all about improving public service delivery by smarter use of data and promoting the use of open data and open solutions, hence our connections with the ODI. But in Bradford, we've been using it, for example, with our street cleansing people, helping them improve how and when to empty litter bins. We've been monitoring natural flood risk management, and the university has been doing interesting things as well. And included in all this work we've been doing is some work on air quality. So Bradford Council has, as part of its statutory duty, some air quality managing stations. So we're publishing open data, which is available now through this this hackathon for these air quality managing stations. But we're also publishing associated data, which we'll go through in a minute. Things like rainfall, which might have an impact, and traffic counts, things like that. In the past, in conjunction with the university, we've run projects and workshops with schools about how to build air quality monitoring devices, and the university are taking things a bit further, I think, in the future, and studying indoor air quality. So what we're trying to do is make our data available and see what other insights anybody else can bring from it, and any suggestions about how we might be able to improve things. A big thing coming up in Bradford is the clean air zone. So all this work on air quality is highly relevant. I don't know if you're there, Sally, whether you want to say anything about the clean air zone. Sally? No, she doesn't seem to be there.
Hello, hi there.
Hiya, Sally. Can you just give us a few sentences on the clean air zone?
I seem to sort of have you open twice, so I'm going to have to shut one of. I've got like a feedback thing. So
Okay.
Just bear with me a moment. I'll try and sort that out.
Another interesting thing to consider is where we are now was pre-coronavirus, and it might be interesting to think about how that might have affected what we're doing, and air pollution and air quality. It might even impact on what we're doing for the clean air zone and what is Leeds doing for the clean air zone. I've seen things in the news about that, about how their proposals might be affected. So whilst we're waiting, one of our other SCORE partners, Gothenburg and the Johannesburg Science Park there, they also look at air quality, and they've been involved with the Love IoT project, which is part of Luftdaten, and they've been doing workshops with their local communities about air quality devices and air quality monitoring. So we're liaising with them, and we can hopefully make some comparisons on good practice with them going into the future.
Can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you, Sally. Thank you.
Excellent. Sorry, I'd got a feedback thing going on. I'd opened it twice, so I could just hear, all I could hear was feedback. So long as you can hear me, that's the main thing. Yeah, so sorry, Sid, you were just asking about the clean air zone work that we've been doing, weren't you?
Yeah, I think everything we're doing will relate to it. So
sure, yeah. So
tell us more.
Yeah, okay. So we've been monitoring air quality in Bradford for around 20 years. And each year we evaluate that we're actually exceeding the legal limits for air pollution. But the idea was that over time, as vehicles got cleaner with the European emission standards, that this problem would really sort itself out. And by the time we got to 2010, we weren't really supposed to have any issues anymore. Unfortunately, our monitoring showed that not to be the case, and we were still seeing these really high levels in Bradford. There's some really interesting work done at Leeds University by James Tate's team at the Institute of Transport Studies, and all this stuff went public really with the diesel scandal. And what we realised was that a lot of vehicles are emitting a lot more pollution than they were supposed to be within the European emission standards. So that's led us to have this continuing problem of high levels. So if it sounds like people weren't really doing anything about it, the reason for that was that we all assumed that it was resolving itself with the actions we were taking on emission standards for vehicles. So government have really woken up to this. We've kept reporting to them for the last decade that we've still got these ongoing problems. And in 2018, we received a ministerial direction from the government to say, look, you've got to get this air quality problem sorted out. And we were like, we know, but we need funding to resolve this, and we're going to need help. So really, there's been all sorts of different things tried for dealing with cities' air quality problems. But the main one that really seems to be working is low emission zones. The difficulty around that is that you're charging vehicles as they come into your city if they're not up to the standard. And that can lead to some really big economic problems. So without a massive package of funding, that's going to be a really difficult thing for Bradford to cope with. So we're working sort of in tandem with the government at the moment, reviewing our data all the time and working out a big funding package that Bradford would need to resolve this. And at the same time, we're developing plans for a clean air zone, which means putting infrastructure all around the city, a great big boundary right around the outer ring road and up to Shipley. That area is the area where we need only the cleanest vehicles to be entering to get on top of this air quality problem. So our data has always been important, but just at the moment it's become really important. And we've also got the impact of coronavirus in there that's reduced levels, we think temporarily, and the government stated that they don't think that this is a long-term thing. But Leeds Council are now reviewing their whole stance around putting in a clean air zone themselves and are re-looking at it in light of COVID. They haven't said either way what they're going to do yet, but what they've done is flagged that things have changed. Personally, I think when kids go back to school, we've had 6 months where the kids are off and we normally see a sort of 20% reduction. We're going to see, changes in the data, but it's just a really exciting time at the moment for air quality data to see what's going to happen. So you're really on an interesting topic at the moment. I'll leave it there, but if anyone's got any more questions around that, just shout as we go.
Yeah, okay. And it has to be said, a lot of the data we're using and sharing is really a consequence of having to address a clean air zone issue.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Yeah,
that's where a lot of it's coming from.
Yeah,
fantastic. So just if you look at the Google Doc that we put up for today, where you can see the questions you've got there, and then there's a link to the AirHack data that we've been working with Bradford University, Bradford Council on issues and data sets all about data and air quality. So we know, because there's lots of conversations around what is applicable, what is actually air quality data, is transport data, air quality is high quality NOx data, we're talking about air quality, but it's everything basically. So we have put together a sheet, and we're going to put this on the AirHack webpage this afternoon, of data we think is useful for AirHack 2. But if you've got any suggestions or would like us to look at other data sets, please do let us know, or make a comment on the Google Sheet or the Google document, or indeed just either send us a note over Twitter or some other way of getting in touch with us. So I'll stop sharing this now, and we'll share the link to all of that with everybody as we go. Okay, so Adrian, would you like to just explain the data that we put together? Tell us what's new, what's not been published before, and then also we can then talk about some of the links to other places in the district, because obviously air quality is no respecter of administrative boundaries in West Yorkshire. So there's other data sets that are available from other parts of the district as well. So over to you, Adrian. Let us know what we've got, and then the ODI Leeds team will pick up with the other parts to the data set as well.
Yeah, so before I start, Paul, I think there's obviously that relationship with the ODI already, and we were aware that you'd done the first AirHack, and obviously we wanted to build on that, and thank you very much for that opportunity to be able to do that. It's really appreciated. So I can't say that whether these are all necessarily new, but they are new data sets that Bradford Council has been working on and has made available for this AirHack event. So there is some Bradford diffusion tube data. Perhaps what I should say is these are all data sets from 2018. So hopefully they will all link together and people will be able to draw some conclusions from 2018. So there's Bradford diffusion tube data. I'm no air quality specialist, and I'm sure Sally will jump in if I get anything completely wrong. But these are about used for monitoring the ambient nitrogen dioxide across the district. Just trying to see how many of those we've got. There's 92 diffusion tube locations in Bradford. I'm not going to go through each of the field headings for that, but there are a number in there which hopefully will be useful in being used in this AirHack, and hopefully coming to some of the conclusions that Sid mentioned earlier about correlations between different things that are going on. It's not one of ours, but there were some NOx values which were done on a 1 kilometre grid square by DEFRA. So we've got a link to that data. But what Sid did with that was he then took that data and interpolated that against the school locations throughout the district. I think we've just been talking about this, and probably the value in that is that we do have the locations with some XY coordinates. So what people could do if they wanted, even with freely downloadable GIS software, is they could even start and do some of those interpolations themselves and use different methods to see how that data comes together. The big thing for us really is that we've been able to now get hold of some traffic count data. And whilst at the moment we're only publishing for 2018, Joe, who's also on the call, has been able to get this data since the records began, starting being recorded. I can't remember the year. And we will look to actually publish those historic data sets, but we wanted to get these out now, ready for the air hack. So these are data sets which I think Leeds have already done. I give CSV files of traffic count data, but also which direction they're going in. They're at 15-minute intervals if available. If not, then we go up to the next one, which is a half-hour intervals, and then ultimately up to hour intervals. It just depends how the system's actually recorded them. The next data set is actually the sites. So because myself, Sid, and Joe always think about location first and location on maps, because we're GIS specialists, then obviously we've published another data set which gives the location of those instruments that are recording the data. Now, there is a connection between those two data sets. So the CSVs can be connected to the spatial locations through the names of the files. Again, this might be a bit more visible when you see the list of documents. So we've put a little bit of an explanation in there about how those two data sets can be drawn together. The next one is the actual data from the air quality monitoring stations. So again, those are at 15-minute intervals for the whole of 2018. So we hopefully you'll be able to join those two data, the actual locations of, say, the vehicle counts with the air quality monitoring stations, so that maybe you can draw some conclusions about air quality in relation to the number of vehicles that are going past. Might be obvious, but you know, it would be nice to prove some of these things that we just think are related. In that data set, there are things like, which I think are quite interesting, is things like wind speed. So one of the first things you might notice is there will be some values in there which are a little bit of a concern. So we believe we've had a wind speed of 135 miles per hour in that data. That's obviously not correct. So as specialists and as people that are interested in the data, obviously we want you to look for those outliers. We haven't stripped them out, and it's things that you can look at and see if they're outliers or whether they are relevant data. Where are we at? The other thing that we've added are some air quality reports around those air quality location stations. They're PDFs, but they might be of interest for you just to have a look through and just see what kind of information you can get from those data sets. The last thing I think it is that we worked on was we've been working with one of our software suppliers called Meniscus, who actually provide us with some rainfall data. And they've been really helpful actually with us and giving us some help and advice about how to extract data using APIs from their software. And what that does is for each of those air quality stations, we've been able to provide data on the weather. And again, it's that correlation between the number of vehicles, what the weather conditions are, what the air quality was like. Again, hopefully it's a nice little exercise for somebody to try and see, is there any correlation between these? And as I've said, there's wind direction in there as well. So it might not have been whether it was raining, it might be where the wind was blowing. So again, there's probably quite a lot of data in there for people to be able to get the teeth into really, and see what they can come back to Bradford and really sort of show to us, you know, what is actually happening in these locations. That's it from Bradford. Actually, in this document, I'm looking at this other data from places like Calderdale, Leeds, and I know Paul's already been showing a list of locations way beyond that. So hopefully plenty of data for you to look at. Sid and Joe, have I missed anything?
I don't think so, Adrian. I'm sure there are other data sets that people can bring in I'm not a data person, so I don't know what's out there in any sort of detail. Paul will have a better idea, but yeah, I'm sure there are all sorts of things that might add value to what we've already published.
Okay.
Sorry, Paul, just before you go on, I've just thought about something else. I apologise. So
that's okay. Go.
Because of the traffic count data is in a particular piece of software, Joe has written some scripts to be able to go and grab that data from that supplier. So if there are other local authorities that may be listening or are interested, we don't mind you getting in contact with us. We're happy to share those scripts, which will just go and get that data out of the software if local authorities are interested. Sorry, Paul.
That's great. And I think what we might do is get Joe to write a technical blog and put it on the AirHack website and explain how that happened, and then we can share that and other people can get in touch to if they want to use the same approach. That'll be amazing. I've just seen in the chat that Sally, the live stream paused when you were talking. So if you wanted to just go back over, and I'm going to summarize it. I tell you, I'll summarize and you tell me if I got it wrong. So basically, the move to low emission cars was supposed to have dealt with air quality by 2010. Lo and behold, it didn't. We've obviously heard about the issues with diesel cars and Dieselgate, and also the work that James Tate did at Leeds University to show all that, the problem with NOx and the problems with that. But you've also been sharing additional data to help us understand that problem. And then there's a big question about whether we need clean air zones or not, and that's all up in the air. And I like the last part of your commentary, which was it's the great time to be involved with air quality data, and it's exciting times, which obviously it is. So did I get that all right, Sally?
You did. Yeah, that's a really good summary. Thanks, Paul.
Perfect. So I'm just going to ask OJ from the ODLE's data team just to give us a couple of seconds on other data sets we've got that are outside of Bradford that might be useful to people who are trying to look at this and maybe develop something over the next 3 or 4 weeks. And then we'll go into talk about how AirHack 2 is going to work on the 1st of October.
Thank you so much, Paul. So we have data from Calderdale and Leeds. For Calderdale, we have information about air quality stations. These are 15 minutes measurements of the concentration of nitrogen oxide on the different cities or towns in Calderdale. So this talks about, we have the units of this in microgram per cubic meter, sorry. And so we have these CSV files on there from 2006 to 2019. I'm assuming we're going to use more recent years for the analysis we're going to do. We have this for 4 different air quality stations. We also have information on the Calderdale air quality dashboard. This gives more like real-time measurements for the nitrogen oxide and the particulate matter as well. We also have information on the Calderdale traffic count. So I think there are like 8 cameras located around Calderdale. So this gives information on the date it was recorded, the camera ID, the period, which is the length of time the count was taken. It also talks about the volume. We should also note it's important to point out that if we have any negative value in the volume, it means that that data should be discarded. Also have any further information in case there was like a roadwork or holiday that should be accounted for in the analysis. This goes from 1997 to 2019, but like I said earlier, probably we'll just use more recent years. We also have for Leeds annual traffic growth. So this is 29 recorders in Leeds, and it has information that's similar to Calderdale as well. Looks at the date it was recorded, the ID, the period, lane number, and direction. These are also CSV files you can find, and it's up until June 2020 from 1998. It contains information about the site name, the ID, probably the description of the cameras, and then the grids and orientation. this is information we have outside of Bradford for now, and I'm probably like Adrian and Paul have emphasized. If we do find anyone that we don't have here, please feel free to share on this Google Docs that's found on the AirHack page on ODI Leeds website. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yeah, it's perfect. So I've shared the link to that data, the Google Sheet with all that data in on the AirHack Google page, which is on our website. If you've got any questions, ask us, or you can't find it, let us know. And then what we'll be doing is we'll be turning that into a web page with links, and then asking people to comment on that over the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then we'll get our friends at Bradford University, Leeds University to look at this and hopefully build a good catalogue of air quality data for this part of the world. I'm quite interested in getting people to start looking at the traffic counts and the obviously the impact of COVID and the more recent data as people move back to work. So that's quite interesting, and hopefully we can start to look at that. We've got a tool at ODI Leeds which looks at footfall data, but we're adding transport data to that. So hopefully we can use this to stimulate more people looking at what's happening within our cities, and people start talking about normal and going back to normal or new normal. I'm not sure we're just dealing with different things, aren't we? Everything's changed. Okay, so I'm just going to check on the chat. I don't think we've got any questions coming through. So that's good, and I guess everyone's understanding what we're doing. The way this works now is that we'll be doing little and often communications about AirHack 2, the information we've got, some of the challenges. Adrian did describe some of the challenges there. We're going to try and get Adrian to write them down and put them on the website and describe them. And then there's a lot of other environmental, economic, infrastructure questions around how our cities work and air quality amongst that, and obviously it's linked to lots of other things. So we'll be communicating that. And then AirHack 2 is part of ODI Leeds' Planet Data event on the 1st of October. So we've got a morning of lightning talks about people talking about the climate emergency, their role within it, and how data is helping us approach that. We've got some great speakers lined up for that, including Icebreaker 1, who are talking about data from the whole infrastructure world, linked to insurance, and it's a fantastic project. They'll be talking about that. We've got people from AirHack 1 speaking. Our friends over at Climate View from Stockholm are going to talk, and we're hopefully going to get the people involved in the SCORE project and the Intro Open project speaking there as well. So there'll be loads of talks in the morning, which you'd be more than welcome to join us with. And then we're going to run a virtual hackathon in the afternoon where hopefully people would like to join us, ask questions about the data, and we'll be using our online tools and resources. So you've probably seen the Pat Chat that's built by Patrick Lake, our data science apprentice here at ODI Leeds. We've got our open documents that we'll be using. We've got the website. And then we'll be asking people to present what they've got and built, sharing that with a wider audience. So hopefully we all get some value from that. So if there's no other questions, we'll wrap this up. If there's any points from, sorry. Yes, Amy, how are you doing? Okay, great.
I can answer that, Paul. At the moment, no. I think what we'd have to look at is we've got some historic LiDAR data, which SID is responsible for. So I think what we can do, I think we just need to understand the question a little bit more. I think it's something we can investigate. Let's leave it that way. And if they can be more descriptive about what they need, is it with full 360? Is it just the highest building, the lowest? I think personally, we need to know a little bit more. That's all.
Let's take that as a theme about topography and data, because obviously the Environment Agency have released their LiDAR data, which is national, and that's improving all the time. I think it's at 2 meter resolution now. It might even be a 0.5 meter. So we can look at that. We can try and find out that data, and then maybe we'll put a separate section on the AirHack data page, which is topography data for locations, but also locations close to the air quality sensors.
Yeah, I think that's a really good avenue to investigate the building, surrounding buildings. We do have other data like the on survey building heights, and as you say, the LiDAR data. So it would be interesting to build some sort of data set describing, I'm not sure how you would describe all the surrounding buildings and the environment around an air quality monitoring device, but it's interesting. We might be able to push something out, definitely.
Fantastic. All right. AirHack 2 team, is there any things that we've missed? Anything you'd like to go over? Otherwise, I'm ready for a cup of tea and some lunch.
I think you said everything, Paul, so that should be for today.
Cool.
Paul, I know I'm not part of your ODI team, but I think there's just one other thing that if people.
Oh, you are part of the team now. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. I think there's just how they can get additional questions to us once they've, because people might pick up this video later.
Yeah.
Can questions come via the ODI first and then be sent through to us? I think the other thing I'd ask people to do first, though, is do some research first. You'll probably find there's lots of information out there before it comes to the ODI and then through to us. But we're happy to pick up questions if that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've got a month of picking up questions and queries and trying to set challenges. So yeah, that's definitely on the cards. Yeah,
just before we wrap up, Paul, I'm also collating some documents or papers I think would be useful in terms of research, so people can understand probably the relationship we've put between the data sets. So on the website, if you check on the Google Docs, you could see a document there you could read to give us more information about the data sets we have.
Yeah. Great stuff. Okay, well, thanks very much, everyone. We are 3 minutes over my target of trying to do this in half an hour. So I think that's a success. Have a good weekend and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
So I think the thing, okay, see you later.